Sparks of love in financial abysses, inside the dollar cobweb. James really disliked the early hours of the day and hated getting up early. However, he made an effort to always watch the morning edition of financial news. This time, the show featured an interview with the notorious financial mogul, Mr. Desmond Granger, who had recently been released from prison.
My next guest, Desmond Granger, was one of the biggest names on Wall Street in the 2000s. Before he went to prison for insider trading and securities fraud. He's out with a new book, and it is a shocker, believe me. Desmond, good to have you on the program.
Thank you, Allison. It's nice to be out.
Acquiring controlling stakes in companies, Granger bought and sold entire firms, often using prohibited insider information and other connections, sometimes promising one thing to the companies before the purchase, but later doing something completely different. His last failed deal turned out to be fatal. It was related to the acquisition of a major American transportation company. Granger, receiving information from a young financier named Brian Fisher, who worked on Wall Street and was the son of one of the company's employees, promised the company's board of directors one thing, but in reality, he was prepared not to improve the company's condition, as they agreed, but simply to liquidate all of the firm's assets, leaving employees out of work. Upon learning of this, the employee's son, who had been passing important financial information about the company to Desmond and collaborating with him for a while, managed to thwart Desmond's acquisition of the controlling stake in the company to save his father's company. Granger wondered a lot about who could betray him and leak secret information about him to the federal authorities, enough to land him a long prison sentence. Although Brian resisted him in his last stock trading operation, Granger felt that the main source of the leaked information about his secret dealings was clearly someone else, someone much bigger than the young broker who had collaborated with him for a short time. In the apartment with James was his girlfriend Samantha, who happened to be Desmond Granger's daughter. The TV show continued.
And I must tell you,
Desmond continued to tell the anchorwoman,
your show is a big hit with the convicts.
Oh. You watched it in prison?
Your show? Me and a whole lot of others.
Hearing her father's voice and familiar mannerisms appear on the program's airwaves, she abruptly and painfully asked James to turn off the television. For the entire 10 years of his confinement, Samantha carried the pain because after Granger's arrest, many of her father's true deeds were revealed, including his constant cheating on his wife, her mother, and after that her brother died of a drug's poison. For a while she still visited her father in prison, but then she wanted nothing more to do with him.
Turn it off,
Samantha demanded of James again.
Now, wait a bit,
answered James, who worked as a financier on Wall Street, and was interested in the program.
You wrote the book in prison?
The host asked Granger.
I did. I outlined my drafts.
Samantha snatched the remote control and threw it to the floor with anger. The television turned off. James tilted his head in embarrassment. He had taken his girlfriend downtown on the motorcycle that was his passion.
see you next week,
Samantha said and left for Philadelphia to launch a new internet project. On the way back, James received a call from Dr. Garrett, who was doing research on alternative energy. The scientist bragged about the new achievements of their Fusion Dream Tech company's research institute.
That's a game changer, Doc. You need more money?
Well, it'd be good if we could get another $100 million. We could pick up maybe 6 months on our schedule.
We'll get the money. You just keep building that baby star, okay?
Okay. Thank you, Jimmy.
James was very eager to help find such big money for the project of a scientist he knew. He decided to try to push for investment for the project at his financial firm. But it was not easy to convince his investment fund colleagues to invest in a venture that would not yield immediate profits but would pay huge dividends later.
Alternative energy is what biotech was 25 years ago. There is no immediate payoff, but the profits can be enormous.
We'll all be dead by the time your nutty professor from the Fusion Dream Tech Corporation makes us any money through their Beam Me Up hydrogen fusion deal.
James was confronted by a speaker who called for money to be invested in underwater oil development off the coast of an African nation for the sake of quick profits for the developers and therefore big bonuses for themselves as middlemen.
Right, this coming from the guy who said Google was a bubble.
James insisted on being right. Those present laughed. After the meeting, James went downstairs to the huge exchange building, found his boss Bennett and went with him to his office. The boss was much concerned about the messages from business platforms in London and other major cities.
I'm just an old dinosaur. It's no fun anymore, Jim. I'm talking to some guy in Dubai. I don't know what he's talking about. I don't know what he's selling. I don't know who he is, I don't know how much I'm putting up. And my partners, they're in their graves, they're laughing at me. It's just a bunch of machines now, telling us what to do.
Bennett, that's why you got people like me here, to lighten the load.
James was answering.
Getting old is not for sissies, kid. Take that money.
The boss handed James a big check as a bonus.
You spend it on that pretty girl, you deserve it. You had the hunger, Jimmy. I could smell it then. You still got it.
I've just never had a check like this in my hands before.
You spend it. Somebody has to keep our economy going. Well, get out of my office.
James tried his best to give his boss some encouragement.
Thank you.
James finally said respectfully and on his way out kissed his beloved old boss, who had known him since he was 12, helped with his studies and immediately took him to work. James went to buy an expensive engagement ring for Samantha, as advised by the boss.
Princess cut. Platinum banded, 1.5 carat. There's nothing quite like this ring,
said the salesman.
Can you take me to the money room?
You mean the private client foyer?
That's it.
After the purchase, James went into a loud club to meet a friend Hunter. There was music, dancing, waiters, lots of girls. One of the girls stared at James, sitting down next to him, and then she walked away, leaving her languid gaze on him.
She was scoping you for the kill, bro. Perfect.
No, I'm already booked for another woman,
said James, and showed his friend the ring he had bought.
Wow, you were serious. So young, and already pricing yourself off the market. So when are you gonna ask her?
She's not that crazy about marriage, you know. I mean, look at her parents.
A girl's got to get it straight with her dad, don't you think? What if you have kids?
Yeah, it's going to be tough.
Did you hear what he said on TV the other night? Home loan defaults are just the first raindrop in the mother of all storms. Sour grapes, this man. The guy is a legend, Desmond the Granger. He's speaking next week up at your old alma mater, Reynolds National Financial College.
A friend Hunter suggested James go together to hear the legendary financier Granger, but he began to refuse. Next day, there was disturbing news and rumors in the stock market.
Guys, we're looking at an unprecedented meltdown here. I've never seen anything like it.
There were reports that someone was betting big money that the company James' boss ran would collapse.
Somebody is betting big money that Evans Porter stock is about to collapse.
James was told by a partner in the business. James immediately searched for his boss and found him sad in the street.
Hey, Bennett. How's your day going? Huh?
I told you, good day, I'm fine. Bad day, I'm fine. Stop bugging me on my feelings. They're irrelevant.
I wanted to come see you face to face and talk about these rumors, you know, because it's getting crazy. It's out of control now. I'm hearing it from all ends.
Our world is all bullshit. Some TV bubblehead, he gets up there like he knows something. He sells fear, panic. And morons, they love it. There's no limits anymore.
Boss, I can help. I can get to the bottom of these derivatives. You just gotta tell me.
There's so much you don't know, Jimmy.
James tried to encourage and support his boss, assuring him that their company could get out of the crisis and stock collapse.
Bennett, you gotta get yourself together, all right? We're gonna be fine. No matter how bad this thing gets, we have real equity in this company. We're gonna get through this.
Marry Granger's daughter. Make some kids with her. And you spend as much time as you can with those kids when they're young, because everything changes. Everything.
I cannot help you if I don't understand what you are talking about. There's 20,000 jobs on the line right now. Somebody's after us, right? Somebody's trying to hurt us. There's a reason this is happening. I need to know how and why.
You know that dream you got about that energy company in California? You may not get there, but you hold on to that. Because everything else is just noise.
Are we going under?
You're asking the wrong question, Jimmy.
What's the right question?
Who isn't? Who is not going under?
Replied the boss and walked away. The next day, this situation with the collapse of one of the largest investment companies, Evans Porter Ventures, was being discussed by the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve Bank. Those present considered loan losses, and the withdrawal of the Chinese and Koreans from the market, and refused for various reasons to bail out the suddenly collapsing company and invest billions in it. Support for Bennett's company was particularly opposed by one financial group owner, Jenkins Mitchell.
Gentlemen, give us a minute. What about moral hazard? We bail out Evans Porter Ventures, who's to say it's not gonna happen again and again?
You vindictive bastard. Who are you to talk about moral hazard?
Bennett responded in fury.
I'm sorry, Bennett, the Wall Street needs to make a statement here to the world.
It was 10 years ago. You just can't let it go, can you, Jenkins?
Bennett's company had been a respected and reputable company for years, but he was still being charged. Finally, one of the board members, Jenkins Mitchell, offered to simply buy the company's stock at the paltry price of $5 a share.
Under these conditions, and assuming you refine your guarantee, John, Wilson and I, and our partners who have been consulted, are prepared to risk $5 a share.
$5? You're out of your mind. The stock was trading at 90 a month ago. Our building alone is worth more than $5 a share,
said Bennett.
The government, if we guarantee this deal, could never justify a high price for your company. And if you don't sell, Bennett, you're in bankruptcy. This is a public spectacle now.
No, it's a public execution, and you'll be leading it, Jenkins. I built this company.
And your exit will help restore faith in it.
Who the hell are you to tell me to get out?
You're out, Bennett. One way or the other, you're out.
Then to heck with you. I'll take my chances in bankruptcy court before I sell to that barracuda.
Then we have nothing more to talk about,
said Jenkins.
15.
In humiliation began to agree Bennett.
7, and that's it. If I can sell it to the board.
All right. We'll call it an even 10, so it doesn't look so pathetic.
James's boss said, seeing no other way out.
7. And not a dime more.
Jenkins replied stiffly. Bennett was devastated. The next day he committed suicide, which was reported on the news.
Bennett was the head of a leading independent investment firm. Somebody obviously didn't want to give it a government bailout. But instead, another financial group got it.
The experts on the news were saying,
Sullivan Grant Capital is making out like a bandit right now with government funding. But Evans Porter Ventures as an independent investment bank is essentially finished.
A tearful and shocked James watched the news with horror. The anchorwoman asked,
What this means for the future of Wall Street? Another firm gone, it leaves very few players left on the street.
One thing I know for sure is that the more competition there is, the harder it will be to play dirty.
The expert on TV replied. At that moment Samantha entered the apartment. She rushed to hug and comfort James, knowing how much his boss Bennett meant to him. James decided to propose to her right away.
Will you marry me? It's just something Bennett said about not waiting. And I love you.
Yes.
Samantha answered.
Yes? You know, I'm out of a job and probably on the other side of broke, you know.
Awesome.
After all that had happened, James did decide to go to meet Samantha's father, who was making a presentation of his book exposing the modern banking system in the large hall of the college in the presence of many students and young people. Desmond Granger was introduced and he began to interact with the audience. James sat listening to him with admiration.
Someone once said, materialism is beneficial, selfishness is good, excessive desire for wealth or possessions, namely greed, is a good thing. Now it seems that all of these are legal now as well. Folks, it's greed that makes my taxi driver buy 3 houses he can't afford with no money down. And it's greed that makes your parents refinance their $300,000 house for $350,000. And then they take that extra $50,000 and they go down to the mall. And they buy a plasma TV, cell phones, computers, and SUV. And hey, why not a second home while we're at it? Because we all know that prices of houses in America always go up, right? They got all these fancy names for trillions of dollars of credit. CMOs, CDOs, SIVs, ABS. I honestly think there's maybe only 50 people in the world who know what they are.
Audience was clapping.
But I'll tell you what they are. They're WMDs, weapons of mass destruction. That's what they are. When I was away, it seemed like greed got greedier with a little bit of envy mixed in. Hedge funders were walking home with 50, 100 million bucks a year. So Mr. Banker, he looks around, and he says, my life looks pretty boring. So he starts leveraging his interests up to 40, 50 to 1 with your money. Not his, yours. Because he could. You're supposed to be borrowing, not them. And the beauty of the deal, no one is responsible. Because everybody's drinking the same Kool-Aid. Hopefully, though you are young, you know this expression related to the Johnstown tragedy, when many people with blind faith in their leader drank the poison dissolved in this popular drink and all of them died. Last year, ladies and gentlemen, 40% of all American corporate profits came from financial services. Not production, not anything remotely to do with the needs of the American public. The truth is, we're all part of it now. Banks, consumers, we're moving money around in circles. We take a buck, we shoot it full of steroids, and we call it leverage. I call it steroid banking. I've been considered a pretty smart guy when it comes to finance. And maybe I was in prison too long. But sometimes it's the only place to stay sane and look out through those bars and say, "Hey, is everybody out there nuts?" It's clear as a bell to those that pay attention. The mother of all this evil is speculation. Leveraged debt. Bottom line, it's borrowing to the hilt. And I hate to tell you this, but it's a bankrupt business model. It won't work. It's systemic, malignant, and it's global. Like cancer, it's a disease, and we got to fight back. How are we gonna do that? How are we gonna leverage that disease back in our favor? Well, I'll tell you. 3 words. Buy my book.
After the presentation, James tried to get through to a departing Desmond, who was telling the people around him.
Q&A's over, all right? Buy the book. There's no more free advice.
My name is James Carter. I'm gonna marry your daughter.
Does she know that?
A surprised Desmond stopped abruptly and asked.
She pretended to.
All right, I'll give you 15 minutes.
James told him his story.
I work as a prop trader at Evans Porter Ventures. I specialize in energy with a focus on...
Sorry about Bennett. One of the toughest guys that ever wore shoes.
I loved him like a father. He got me a scholarship to Reynolds and hired me right out of business school. I love your daughter.
My daughter ignores me. She blames me for her brother's overdose and just about every other disaster that's hit this world since the emergence of a Japanese video game company. You don't think it's strange that she's dating somebody from Wall Street?
Why?
Because she hates it. You don't think it's funny that she'd fall in love with you?
Not knowing what to answer, James continued.
I've been specializing more and more in clean tech.
That's smart. That's the next bubble. What are you, some kind of energy freedom fighter?
No, Mr. Granger. I'm in this game to make money like anybody else.
So what about money, Jimmy? You like her?
I've never thought about money as a she. Didn't think of money as a woman.
Oh. She lies there in bed at night with you, looking at you, one eye open. Money's a bitch that never sleeps. And she's jealous. And if you don't pay close attention, you wake up in the morning, and she might be gone forever.
I don't want to spend my life chasing money.
Oh, yeah. So marry it instead, right?
What do you mean? Samantha doesn't have any money.
Sure.
Desmond smirked.
Does Samantha know you came to see me?
No. Well, not exactly. I was gonna tell her.
I don't think that's a good idea, pal. See, I got a feeling you may want to be seeing me again, and if she knew we had this little powwow, she's not gonna let it happen. You know what? You should just walk away. You never met me.
I don't understand.
The man that you loved like a father who committed suicide. I think you're angrier than you think you are. And I think you want to be in the family business.
Which is what?
Payback. Revenge. Except I'm not in that business anymore. Because the one thing I learned in jail is that money is not the prime asset in life. Time is. And your time is just about up.
Samantha needs to get past the pain you caused her.
I caused her?
Look, she wants you back in her life. She just can't handle it right now. Okay? Maybe I can help.
Maybe you can, maybe you can. That's what makes the market.
Their conversation continued on the subway.
This is my station. That is my email address.
They almost parted, but suddenly Desmond had some cunning idea, and for some reason he decided to suggest who could be responsible for the sudden bankruptcy of the company where James worked and the impetus for the suicide of his beloved boss.
By the way, the rumors on Evans Porter, the same rumors that pushed you into the stock crash.
I'm listening to you,
answered the interested James attentively.
Your boss was being retaliated against by someone very powerful, by someone with enough clout to be believed, somebody who made a fortune shorting the stock. Word has it that Jenkins Mitchell gutted Bennett Porter at the board of directors of the Federal Reserve. Just stuck that knife right into his stomach. Check out 2010. The internet bubble. Sullivan Grant Capital got hosed badly back then. You know there's fortunes to be made. Hundreds of millions of dollars betting against this bubble. Just wish I had $1 million.
Desmond said dreamily and walked toward the subway exit. James urgently made inquiries at his company and learned that Desmond had told him the truth. Indeed, in 2010, the investment company Sullivan Grant Capital, Jenkins Mitchell Company, almost went bankrupt, and his boss at the time, for certain reasons, refused to pump in money to save it when 12 banks asked him to do so.
Jenkins Mitchell division was overinvested in the internet bubble collapse. Each bank was going to put up $100 million, but Bennett said no. Sullivan Grant almost went down, but was backstopped by a conglomerate of 9 banks. Okay, so not only did they survive this, but they came back and ate our fricking lunch.
A colleague at the firm read the 2010 case files aloud to James and commented on it.
Unbelievable. Jenkins Mitchell. The man's a hypocrite.
James replied.
Who would talk about the moral hazard?
James suddenly received a call from his doctor friend at Fusion Dream Tech, an alternative energy company, informing him that due to lack of funding they were being forced to downsize. James assured him that he would try to make sure that the project continued with minimal cuts. $100 million was urgently needed to continue the scientific research experiments. James continued to investigate the cause of his company's collapse, and the resulting death of his boss. His friend Hunter on Wall Street had found other leads.
There was some large shorts from money out of the Cayman Islands last week. Something called Swarm Guard Fund. You know, I am talking about short-selling operations, a market strategy, when investors borrow assets and sell them, hoping their prices will go down. After the prices drop, they buy the assets back at a lower price and return them to the lender, making a profit from the difference between the selling and buying prices.
What else?
Monday, they traded another 600,000 shares. Tuesday, 2 million. Wednesday, 1 million more. Total of 3.6 million shares. These guys made some serious money.
Who is that, though? Who is the Swarm Guard Fund?
I don't know. And I don't want to find out. It could be my ass.
Such shorts, such operations are simultaneous with the collapse of the old and respectable firm where I work.
James continued to investigate and told a friend.
Just find out, all right? I got a hunch.
Do I hear revenge here?
A friend asked.
It's a dish you stick to cold, pal.
I'm about to serve it up hot, Hunter.
James assured him. James decided to strike out on his own. He began to fuel rumors and concerns about Sullivan Grant's project to develop oil fields on the Congo coast. He began running information through his channels that would suppress the oil big deal and devalue their stock. Reports went that the dictator of Congo was consulting with sorcerers, that he would nationalize the coastal areas, which meant oil production would become impossible there. James called and informed investors and businessmen.
Look, if there's one thing I know, it's energy, and that the Sullivan Grant is gonna get hit on this.
Is this true?
Oh, yeah. I'm telling you, it's gonna happen. The Congo leader is definitely gonna nationalize the oil.
Word's gotten out to investors.
There's no telling what this African dictator has in mind.
Soon James was sitting in front of the TV, enjoying hearing on the news that Sullivan Grant's stock rating had fallen 10%. James and his fiancée met his mother, who had quit her job as a nurse and plunged into the world of real estate speculation. She bought several houses, hoping that the price of them would steadily increase. Ended up in trouble and asked her son for $200,000 to help her out.
I remember visiting you when I was young at the hospital after school, thinking, how cool is this? My mother is saving lives.
I never saved any lives.
Yeah, but you did something, and that's the point, Mom.
I make more in a month now than I did in my best year as a nurse.
You made a difference. And now?
In the car, on the way back, his fiancée Samantha told him she didn't want the expensive ring he'd bought her and asked for a much simpler one.
Jimmy, I grew up with a father who only talked about money. If you think I want to be with the kind of guy with his ego invested in his bank account, you really don't get me.
James received a call from a work colleague in the car saying that Jenkins Mitchell himself wanted to meet with him urgently in his own home any time up to 8 p.m.
You're kidding me.
No, he said after hours is okay, because he left his home address.
Did he sound upset?
Screw him, he destroyed our company. You waltz in there like Russell Crowe in Gladiator.
His work colleague wished him. James arrived to meet Mr. Mitchell.
James Carter to see Mr. Mitchell.
He's expecting you.
A servant told him at the front of the house. As James waited for Jenkins in the office of his home, he saw a Forbes magazine on the desk. It listed the richest billionaires of the year. Jenkins was among them. Jenkins walked smugly into the office and struck up a conversation with James about the painting on the wall.
An early sketch for Saturn devouring his son by Goya.
Do you collect?
James asked him.
No. Only the obsessive-compulsive and the insecurely egotistical feel the need to collect things.
They talked about their mutual passion for racing sport bikes, about the possibility of competing against each other to see who could beat who, and then Jenkins came to the point and asked James a question straight to the forehead.
You a bee, Mr. Carter?
A what?
Do you like to sting people? You cost Sullivan Grant Capital $150 million last week. That's not a great deal of money. But people know that offshore project in Africa is ours. I had dinner with the president of Congo in Paris last week. He has no actual plans of nationalizing any oil fields. But I guess that doesn't really matter to you.
No, it doesn't.
I asked around town about you. You didn't make any money off it.
No, I didn't.
Then why?
Because you destroyed my firm.
Your firm destroyed itself.
You killed Bennett Porter.
Bennett Porter killed himself.
But you set the rumors.
The rumors were true.
You made them true.
No, Mr. Carter. Putting 50% leverage on toxic debt made them true. Look, Porter once knew how to run money. Dying because of it was his choice. As far as I'm concerned, it's just money. But when you don't know what you're doing, it's fatal, Mr. Moore. Not knowing what you're doing.
James was about to leave when suddenly he heard an offer from this king of investments.
Come work for me. We fund most of the world's integrated oil companies, drillers, coal producers, natural gas line providers. I know who you are. But where we're a little light is in alternative energy.
Why me?
Because your loyalty demanded revenge. Your balls actually attempted it, and your skill pulled it off. And frankly, because I'd love to beat the crap out of you on a bike. You got my attention, Mr. Carter. That's pretty rare. If I were you, I'd think seriously about it. Because you'll have a hard time elsewhere, now that you've captured our attention.
What's your number?
James asked him.
I'm sorry. We'd start you at $350,000 a year, like everybody else.
No. Your number. The amount of money you would need to just walk away from it and live. See, I find that everybody has a number, and it's usually an exact number. So what is yours?
The influential billionaire thought for a moment and said with a smile.
More.
James immediately went to see Desmond Granger.
How did you know it was Jenkins Mitchell?
Desmond told him how he used to work with Jenkins in trade, exchanging ideas until they had a grudge and a falling out.
When you're in prison, you got a lot of time to think. In fact, the best memory that I know is hurt. I did 9 years, pal. 5 years before that in court. Nobody does 9 years. They give murderers 5.
I thought it was the kid with the transportation company that gave you up.
Who? Brian Fisher. He got me for insider trading. But that's 13 months, max. After the first charges, it was someone of my co-conspirators who tipped off the feds. And that pious piranha, Jenkins Mitchell, he had just enough information to sink me.
He offered me a job.
Well, you just rocketed into the center of the universe, pal. I think my daughter's future is looking a hell of a lot better.
He found out that I helped to collapse his shares by 10%, but I did not profit from it.
You're kidding me. You didn't trade it?
That would have been insider trading, Mr. Granger. Remember, your daughter and I are engaged.
You wouldn't want to soil her name, right? Well, you may not have traded, but you tried telling the feds you didn't commit a felony.
What do you mean?
You know exactly what I mean. You induced others to trade on information that you knew to be false.
This is very difficult to prove.
A fisherman always sees another fisherman from afar. I think you ought to start calling me Desmond.
James handed Desmond a photograph of his fiancée, as promised. They had a deal. Desmond gives James a photo of Samantha as a child, and he gives James as an adult.
There she is.
But keep this between us, though.
Asked James.
Relationships, they're like bubbles. They're fragile. It's like these tulips. This is the greatest bubble story of all time,
said Desmond, looking at the tulip head hanging on the wall.
Back in the 1600s, the Dutch, they get speculation fever to the point that you could buy a beautiful house on a canal in Amsterdam for the price of one bulb. They called it tulip mania. Then it collapsed. You could buy 10 bulbs for $2. People got wiped out, but, who remembers?
What would you do with your money?
Asked James.
Me? Switzerland. Still the best. Got a healthy distrust for a big government.
Is that where you keep it?
Yes, I did. Now I don't got that kind of cash anymore. And how is that lefty website of hers doing?
Frozen Truth? It's doing well, actually. They get about 70,000 hits a day. Jenkins Mitchell wants to build his alternative energy sector. I think I can get him to put real capital behind this company I told you about. Fusion Dream Tech.
Mitchell would probably want to polish his resume a little green. The thing you got to know about Jenkins Mitchell is, he's a gambler. Like me. He's got an ego the size of Antarctica. Like me. So now you got his attention. How are you going to shine sitting on his son?
Make him money and melt his ass.
Just like the old days. We slaughtered men for payback. Maybe it's time for us to do our second trade? I'll dig around on Jenkins Mitchell and this Swarmguard fund, and you see what you can do about getting Samantha and me back together again.
James suggested that they try to arrange a joint dinner where Desmond could cross paths with his daughter.
Besides the precious disappearing time, I have no one but Samantha, so you try to reconcile me with her, and you will both have a father.
Dinner at the restaurant was arranged. Desmond even began to communicate a little with his daughter at the table.
I checked out that website, Frozen Truth. It's impressive.
Thanks. We work hard at it.
Although, there was a bullshit blog blaming the current administration for the entire mess that we're in. I don't think that's the truth.
I agree with you.
Some old acquaintances of Desmond passed by their table. He entered into a short conversation with them. There was some confusion on their faces when he told them his name. It reminded Samantha of painful things she learned as a child. Something rose in her, and she ran out of the table and left. James caught up with her and tried to reconcile with his father.
Why did you make me do that, Jimmy? You don't understand. This is none of your business.
It is my business. Stop for a second. Look at the real man in there. He's hurting. He's desperate to get you back in his life.
He's not who you think he is, James.
People change. It was a long time ago, Samantha.
He'll hurt us. Don't go back in there.
James started working for Jenkins Mitchell. They were to meet with a Chinese investment delegation and invite them to invest in an alternative energy high-tech company that, according to James, was no good.
This company with its technology is a cow. It's dead in the water. They're not going to go for it.
But they didn't listen to him. After the presentation of the technology of the proposed company, the Chinese leader said that he had already met this in another company, and such pace and technology did not suit them.
Do you have anything else to present to us today? We've come a long way.
Jenkins tried to salvage the situation by offering oil technology to the Chinese.
All right, Jenkins. That sounds promising,
said the Chinese, who were going to invest $18 billion, and Jenkins was very eager to receive their investment. The Chinese were ready to leave, when suddenly James saw a loophole for himself to offer them the technology of nuclear fusion, which was being developed by his doctor friend in California, and sharply turned to the Chinese.
What about fusion? We happen to be working with a company right now. It's got all the hardware in place. Started by the Department of Energy. They share R&D facilities with the University of California. It's got a market cap right now of about $2 billion. No earnings.
Fusion has been around a long time,
answered the Chinese leader. James addressed him in Chinese and began to explain in detail how this technology works.
The simple of it is, It's using the intense energy of some 200 laser beams focused on a single target the size of a few grains of rice filled with hydrogen fuel. So the idea being that when that target combusts, it produces more energy than it took in. All the tests they've done indicate that they can use this ignition process to turn simple seawater into energy. It's called ocean thermal energy conversion, using the reaction between hot water on the surface and cold water beneath to power the lasers. So what you wind up with is unlimited clean energy.
Jenkins listened to James' presentation with great tension and even fear on his face.
How do you contain the explosion?
The Chinese leader asked.
That's a secret I can't really share with you right now. Not to be secretive, but I could probably get you in there for a peek. Maybe next week, on your way back to Beijing from DC?
James replied. The Chinese were evidently interested. And James, who knew Chinese traditions, presented them with gifts. An amazed Jenkins praised James for his combative nature.
I used to go with Bennett Porter to China. Their culture's as much about manners as it is about business.
James explained his act.
They're on the hook, Jim. That's all I care about. You don't always listen so good, Jim, but you got fight in you. I like that.
Meeting with Desmond again, though Samantha asked him not to do it behind her back, James learned that Desmond had managed to dig up information about a mysterious SwarmGuard fund through which Jenkins was illegally and secretly trading stocks, bypassing his official company. For his investigations, Desmond demanded that James once again arrange for him to meet with his daughter, threatening him to reveal to his daughter that he was meeting with her father behind her back. This time, the setting for the meeting was to be a regular Wall Street party. It cost about $5,000 to get in. James promised to arrange it.
It's getting nicer doing business with you,
Desmond told him. James and his fiancée showed up for that evening's meeting. Desmond also showed up there. There were many influential people from the business world around, a lot of luxury. At the table, Samantha was telling Jenkins about her website.
And the website's called Frozen Truth.
That's catchy. I like that.
What we really need is some game-changing news. And now you can come out of nowhere with just one big story.
Is it expensive to run?
Asked Jenkins.
Not really. It's a shoestring budget.
Maybe Jimmy can find ways to raise you some money, flip it to the public?
We don't really want to go public. It would affect our credibility. We want to stay non-profit.
Non-profit?
Jenkins marveled. It seemed that such a term simply did not exist in his vocabulary.
What is that? You know what it is?
He asked James.
Isn't that when you came out of school and you had to do something for the government, like it was mandatory?
Desmond suddenly approached them. Samantha decided to urgently go outside for some air.
If somebody took this place out tonight, there'd be nobody left to rule the world,
said Desmond. Desmond got into a heated discussion with his old acquaintance Jenkins, and gave a sneaky hint by thanking those who put him behind bars.
The truth is, nobody needs inside information anymore to get rich. All you have to do is stay out of jail. Actually, jail was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Oh, yeah?
Got me to think. It centers a man. I probably should thank whoever put me in there.
Then he offered a deal, again with a hint.
I'll make you a deal, Jenkins. You stop telling lies about me. I'll stop telling the truth about you.
Desmond went outside to look for his daughter. When he found her, he walked over, sat next to her on the steps, and began to praise James.
He's a good kid. He came from nothing. Hustler, like me. You think he's the one for you, Sam?
Yes.
Well, just make sure he's worthy of you, because, whether you like it or not, you're still a Granger.
And whether you like it or not, that name doesn't mean anything anymore.
Why do you say something like that? We had an agreement. You remember? Last time you came down to see me, we were going to take a little trip. When I got out, you remember that?
To Switzerland?
Yeah.
That was before Connor died. Some of the things that came out after you went away, things you were recorded saying, the affairs, that wasn't you. That wasn't my father. It was some sociopath. Do you know what you did to Connor? To all of us? You drove Mom mad.
Desmond tried to explain that it had been a long time ago and that he himself had been through hell in that time, and had tried many times in the past to cure his son of his addiction, at the greatest cost, hiring the best therapists, and sometimes even paying a drug dealer not to sell the stuff to Connor.
Samantha, you got no idea how much I beat myself up, how many mistakes I made as a father. You cannot blame me, and you gotta stop blaming yourself. You're all I got left, honey. I cannot make it right again, but I can make things better. I'm your dad. And whatever you say till the day that I die, you're my gal. You're the only one. You're my baby. Please. Samantha, just try to forgive me.
Desmond hugged his daughter in tears.
Dad.
Samantha said it for the first time in years. James watched the scene. He called the scientist from California and encouraged him, saying,
"It's done, Doc. Look, you're an older guy, so I don't want you to have a heart attack. But Jenkins Mitchell just said we're gonna get $100 million.
Are you serious, my boy?
Yes! Jenkins says the Chinese are close. But look, you get some sleep, all right? You deserve it."
Thank you, Jim.
But soon the banking sector was in serious turmoil, and a major financial crisis, similar to that of 1929, was brewing. There was an urgent secret meeting at the Federal Reserve Board.
There's about 70+ trillion out there in credit default swaps held by roughly 17 banks. Selling this to Congress is the problem. They're going to want to know where the money's going. They'll jawbone this to death.
The news reported it.
Does government have to get involved? Are we potentially at a point where we might actually lose the financial system as we know it? If the government doesn't get involved, there is a risk of a global meltdown of the global financial system.
Your father predicted this,
said James to Samantha, watching the news.
What's going to happen? It'll be the end.
Well, that's unacceptable. Because I'm pregnant, Jim.
That's fantastic.
They laughed. Some time later, Jenkins invited James to a promised motorcycle racing competition. James was brought by helicopter to a special track in the park. He managed to overtake his boss and came first on a borrowed good motorcycle. Afterwards, offering James to share an amazing future with him, Jenkins admitted that the Chinese investment would only go towards opening up oil production.
We took another look and we just don't think Fusion Dream Tech is ever gonna achieve what they claim.
James was furious about this. He began to say that the Fusion company already was waiting for that money. Jenkins asked,
"I thought I could be your mentor. I thought you might be a good addition to the Sullivan Grant Capital team. Am I mistaken?"
Let me tell you something, Jenkins. You are not my mentor. Bennett Porter was. And whether you admit it or not, your raid destroyed Porter and forced him to suicide. So you may talk about moral hazard. You are the worst kind of toxic debt this system's polluted with.
Is this a threat?
Absolutely.
This is so disappointing. I really saw so much in you, Jimmy.
You should look in the mirror first. See yourself. It might scare you, Jenkins.
James walked away from him and his attractive proposals with anger. The next day he came to Desmond and said,
"He screwed me. He saw that fusion was actually possible, so he killed it."
Well, that's a little far-fetched. But then, these days, anything is possible.
Well, I quit, Desmond.
That's really going to help. This guy Jenkins Mitchell, he must walk between raindrops. He's a monkey dancing on a razor blade. Not only did he start the rumors at Porter to get your bank for peanuts, the guy was trading for his own account in this Swarmguard fund. Yeah, for the last 2 years they've been hedging. Not just subprimes, primes, indexes, the whole thing. But they knew this home loan fantasy was going to collapse the market. And when they did, they got the feds to bail out their bad insurance swaps, or 100 cents on the dollar. I mean, talk about an evil empire. This puts me to shame, and I'm small time compared to these crooks. The system is insolvent if no one knows what to do next except repeat the insanity till the next bubble blows. That'll be the one. The big one. The tipping point.
We could still go after Jenkins Mitchell on this. Just bring it all out.
Easy, Trigger. Media is not going to get in the way of Sullivan Grant Capital or the government. They want their profits just like the rest of us. It's unethical, but it's not illegal. When everyone's running for the lifeboats, who's going to care?
Maybe some little leftist website? Your daughter will run it. It'll get some play.
Look, Jenkins is not an enemy a kid like you wants to have for life. Just get out of this racket. Settle down with Samantha. Live a happy life somewhere. Well, you know, she's got enough money.
What do you mean?
You're smart. You'll come up with another way to slice bread.
What money?
My money,
answered Desmond. And then Desmond suddenly confessed that there was $100 million in Samantha's name in a bank account in Switzerland, which he had deposited in her youth, under certain conditions, with the possibility of taking it out at the age of 25.
When she was 18, I told her she would come into it all when she turned 25. And she agreed to stake me when I got out. Then Connor died, and she reneged. She never visited me again.
She told me she had a small trust from you and her mom, but she didn't care anything about it. She was going to give it to charity when she was 25.
Well, it's easy for her to say. She never earned it. But you do need that money for your fusion delusion, don't you?
But it's a trust. I mean, she couldn't break into it before she was 25 anyway.
Are you as dumb as you sound? Anything can be revoked. They don't got trusts in Switzerland. It's an account, that's all. I know the bank well. They'll work with me. But you still need your signature, of course.
How do we do this?
Asked James.
She goes with you to Switzerland. She signs the account over to your control. Then you give me the money and I'll get it to the United States for you, for your fusion project.
You mean launder it?
Look, pal, you want the IRS on Samantha? Because you damn well know she is complicit and seriously liable. It's a tax offense, all right? You want the money?
James went to Samantha and told her a story about how he found out about the secret of the $100 million.
How did you find out in the first place? Did you talk to my father?
I found out because Sullivan Grant Capital's international trading desk handles some of the money, and your name came up, along with Desmond Granger.
I was going to give it to charity.
James convinced her that owning that kind of money as an adult could result in 5 years in prison, and the money could be safely transferred to the greatest charity of all, given to an account at Fusion Dream Tech for their research and development.
This is more than just charity, Sam. You know that fusion just might work. I know it sounds like Star Wars, love, but if it weren't for crazy people who thought these crazy things, then where would we be in this world? Nowhere. What do you want to do? Just report the news for the rest of your life, or do you want to make the news? It's your chance to shine, to be Captain America. This is the most charitable you could ever be in your life.
Samantha glowed at the prospect and agreed, and they traveled to Switzerland. She signed the necessary documents at the bank there.
We will have your father co-sign, and we will see to it that the funds are transferred.
Bank officials said. James and Samantha returned to America. A few days later, the doctor in charge of the fusion project called James and said, startled, that the money had not arrived in their account.
Yeah, but it was sent yesterday. It should have been there before the Fed wire closed at 7 o'clock.
Well, maybe there's been some sort of mistake. It was a large amount.
Oh my God.
James thought, and rushed to the apartment Granger had rented. The owner opened the door, but the apartment was empty. Desmond had disappeared, along with the money he'd gotten from Switzerland and all his belongings. But there was still the same tulip head hanging on the wall. James was shocked, remembering Desmond's story about the tulip mania of the ancient Dutch and how that financial bubble had suddenly burst. The images from his conversation with Desmond floated before his eyes, but in a slightly different light.
Samantha is all I got left. How much? Close to $100 million by now. A fisherman always sees another fisherman from afar.
Don't go seeing him, Jimmy.
James told Samantha everything.
This is who he is. I did tell you, Jimmy. I did warn you.
I lied to you, Samantha. I've been in contact with your father behind your back.
Why?
Samantha asked with horror, realizing that her trust in James had been shattered.
Because I thought it was the best thing for you, you know, for us.
You're like him.
James tried to apologize and began to promise that he would return the money, but Samantha was unstoppable. She screamed with pain in her heart.
I don't care about the money, Jim. This is not about the money. This is about you and me, and we are not good anymore. We're supposed to make each other feel safe. Otherwise, what's the point? It's gone, Jim.
It's not, please. Don't.
James pleaded with her, but in vain. Samantha took off his engagement ring, gave it to the dumbfounded James, and sent him away. James had to think about a lot of things now.
I was going to tell her right away about meeting her father, but Desmond convinced me not to, and I gave in to that fear. I mean, there was a way to explain everything. Plus, our life together before we were married. It seemed to be the way most young people live now. It was fashionable, it promised freedom, but am I free now in such pain? And what happens to the baby if I am not around? Samantha is a prime example of suffering through the loss of her father. Heavenly Father, forgive me, and help me make things right somehow. If you can, turn my mistakes to good because there is so much confusion around. You know how much I love Samantha, and I don't want our child to end up fatherless and going through what she is going through.
He prayed as best he knew how, remembering what he had heard as a child in Sunday school. Meanwhile, in England, with the help of 100 million, Desmond quickly created his own company, recruited a whole staff of specialists and was gaining his former business momentum, which he was good at doing.
India, Brazil. Silver, oil, copper. I want to own my portion of it all. Buy me Sullivan Grant, and get me updates on the other financials. I'm looking for deals, only good deals.
He gave orders to his subordinates.
Right now, it is ugly times ugly, and that's when the ugly get going. You tell them for me, babe, Desmond Granger is back. I'm looking for distressed securities. I'm trying to get a hold of them before the government does. You got that?
He said on the phone, strutting around the most expensive stores, regaining his former super respectability in clothes and other things.
Well, then, George, you tell the Treasury Department for me that I'm willing to stand on the other side of their auction.
Not too tight under the arms, Mr. Granger?
A tailor in an expensive clothing store asked him while he was conducting business on the phone.
I tell you, the government's worse than a wife. They got all the power, they got half the money. Now they're working on getting the other half.
Desmond was declaring a fight against what he believed was impending total socialism, knowing full well from history what it leads to.
Hey, stay positive, pal. Most people, they lose, they whine and quit. But you got to be there for the turns. Don't run when you lose. Don't whine when it hurts. It's like the first grade, Jerry. Nobody likes a crybaby.
Desmond exhorted his old partners while he was having the most expensive shoes fitted. As he entered his office, Desmond suddenly heard James' voice.
Feels good to be back on top, huh?
Hey, champ. What brings you to England?
You, Desmond, you want to make one last trade?
Well, that depends.
Did you ever really want to reconcile with her?
I'm human.
Then why did you do it?
Well, it's the same answer. Look, I told you before, Samantha was gonna stake me when I got out. She promised to give me the money when I got out of jail, but she refused.
It makes you feel better about stealing from your own blood, doesn't it? Every thief has some excuse.
Hey, don't you act so superior, kid. They took 220,000 hours of my life for a victimless crime. I ate my bitterness every goddamn day. And when I got out, who was waiting for me? Nobody. Not even my own daughter.
You know, she left me, Desmond.
Yeah? I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, you left it all in ruins. Although, of course, a lot of it is my fault.
What trade were you talking about in the beginning?
You give back the $100 million to Samantha.
And what do I get in return?
James gave him a CD and asked him to turn it on. A video recording of the baby in Samantha's womb appeared on the screen.
That's your grandson. You said, the most valuable commodity I know is time. You're looking at time, not money. This is time, Desmond. This is life.
Desmond stared intently and very thoughtfully at the video, then said,
I'm sorry, Jim, but this is simply a trade I cannot make.
You're a sad man, Desmond.
James said and walked away. Samantha sat at her computer, looking at her article for her website. Dr. Garrett may be a kind of messiah in the energy field. Jesus turned water into wine, and this humble scientist aims to turn seawater into a source of clean energy.
I have no use for wine right now. Could Jesus turn my bitter water into something sweet?
She thought. James sent the exposing documents to Samantha. In the morning James went to her office and said,
You really want to get this site on the map? You break this story. It'll take some time, but it'll spread. It's the single greatest transfer of wealth in American history from Main Street to Wall Street, and it's all true. And it will happen again because people like you and me want to be lied to. I miss you like crazy, and I love you, baby, and I'm sorry.
The documents detailed the machinations of Jenkins Mitchell and his companies not only against James' collapsed firm, but against the U.S. government itself. Samantha's website published these shocking documents. They began with the caption, There's a saying, if you steal a little, you go to jail. If you steal a lot, you'll be made king. James began sending out the exposing article from Samantha's friend's website to all of his business contacts and influential connections. An incredible thing began to happen. Thousands of people began to receive the article. People in business circles discussed the shocking news.
It's a tiny website. Who cares? Granger's daughter and that smart-ass kid I fired, James Carter,
shouted Jenkins to his partners.
It's gone viral, Jenkins. Bloomberg has a summary out on it. Reuters is playing the story big. It's become legitimate. Congress is next. This bank is bigger than you, Jenkins.
Jenkins was being told in the Federal Reserve. The leader of the Fed board was slapping Jenkins for his greed and recklessness.
Are you stupid or what? Training for your account and your position? You pigged out, kid. You're gluttonous. You were making a fortune here. What is wrong with you? What more did you lack?
Jenkins' offers to the leader were no longer effective. In a rage, Jenkins grabbed a rare, expensive painting of Saturn devouring his son from the wall and smashed it on the table. Meanwhile, Desmond was telling a major business meeting how he had turned $100 million into $1 billion.
I don't want to sound like a rooster taking credit for the dawn, but turning $100 million into $1.5 billion in this market takes some brains, right? My guys are good. And it's no wonder our new fund is oversubscribed.
Jenkins was summoned to court. On the way there, he was bombarded by journalists who asked him how he felt about the charges. At the trial, he was told,
"This is only a preliminary proceeding. But I want you to know you're under investigation on accusations of tax evasion and stock manipulation through, among others, an entity called SwarmGuard Fund. Although, I want to first get to the matter of Bennett Porter. I see here that you cooperated with this office and with the federal authorities when the investigations of one Desmond Granger began."
Jenkins felt extremely uncomfortable, especially when it was mentioned how he had helped put his former partner, Desmond, in jail, which the latter had suspected. Jenkins' gaze fell on the desk calendar on the table. A quote that was on the calendar caught his eye, "And those who want to get rich fall into temptation and into a snare, and into many foolish and harmful lusts, which plunge people into disaster and destruction. For the love of money is the root of all evil, which, having given way, some have deviated from the faith and subjected themselves to many sorrows." 1 Timothy 6 verses 9 to 11. It was a quotation from the Bible, the same Bible on which people in the United States for centuries have sworn in court to tell only the truth, and practically all U.S. presidents swore on it during the inauguration. James' offer had made a strong impression on Desmond though. He sat at his computer for long periods of time, thinking about something and watching the video of his grandson in his daughter's womb. Desmond had lost his beloved only son, so the prospect of getting a second chance in the person of his grandson attracted him very much. All that was human had not been killed in him. He decided to fulfill his original, though tricky, promise to transfer the promised $100 million to the account of the Clean Energy Fusion Company, and try to reconcile with his daughter, and, if possible, to help her reconcile with the father of his grandson to be born. An invisible thirst for family and its values drew him in. At the same time James missed Samantha and decided to try to reconcile with her again, be it gradually if needed. He met her on the street on her way home, talked to her, carried her things, and found out that she, like him, hadn't slept at night.
He woke me up last night,
she said, pointing to her already emerging tummy. James asked her to let him listen to the baby inside too.
I just got off the phone with Dr. Garrett.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, very happy man. Renewed interests from investors. Because of your story. So, thank you. I miss you, Samantha.
I miss you too.
I don't know how to fix this.
Neither do I. It's different now.
What can I do?
Nothing. Good night.
Good night.
James answered, and was ready to say goodbye to Samantha when Desmond came up to them.
Where are you two going?
Desmond addressed them. Everyone froze.
What? Nobody around here believes in comebacks? Sam, I owe you something.
I don't want it. I never did.
No, I figured that. But, you know, when choosing between two evils, I like to try the one that I haven't tried before. So I deposited a check of $100 million made out to Fusion Dream Tech. From some offshore fund no one needs to know about. Wouldn't you say green is the new bubble, Jim?
Jim and Samantha stood in complete silence and amazement. Desmond looked at them with a fatherly look and said,
You two make a nice couple. You know, Sam, human beings, we got to give them a break. People need to be forgiven. It's all so tangled up. We're all mixed bags. But my grandson, and you, and maybe, you know, you'll let me be a father again.
Desmond said sincerely and began to walk away slowly. Samantha stared at James and smiled reconcilingly. James noticed this and immediately went over to her to hug and kiss her. They stayed in each other's arms for a long time. They were married a month later. And a year and a half later, they were celebrating the baby boy's first birthday with guests, co-workers, Dr. Garrett, the scientist from the Fusion Dream Tech, and Samantha's father, Desmond Granger. On the birthday cake was brightly written in cream, "Happy birthday to you, Bennett." And next to it was the number 1. James' mother was holding the baby in her arms, and Desmond was chatting cheerfully with her. The end. If you liked this story, please subscribe to the channel, like and comment, and share the video link with your friends. Thank you.